Meet Eric Ranker, 24 years old, unemployed, no goals, no dreams. 4 years ago, his parents died in a car accident, leaving him alone in a small house in Brandenburg. Since then, he had lived on a small government allowance, spending almost every waking hour playing video games, watching TV, and avoiding the outside world. He could play games for 18 hours straight without getting bored. Ironically, the only thing he was truly good at was surviving in virtual worlds. Fast learner, quick hands, sharp hearing, able to function on very little sleep. But in the real world, weak, out of shape, always thirsty. When civilization collapsed, Eric had only one goal: stay alive and somehow bring the internet back. It was July 9th, a perfect day to stay indoors and continue his latest project Zomboid playthrough. Then, sirens, screams, the sound of shattering glass. 3 days passed. The internet was gone. The food was almost gone. Soon, hunger would kill him long before the zombies could. Eventually, Eric accepted the truth. He had only two choices: go outside or starve to death. After a long battle with himself, he packed everything that still mattered: his father's fishing rod, an old fishing book his father had once insisted he read, a baseball bat, and the last few cans of food. For the first time since the world ended, Eric stepped outside. The streets were crawling with the dead. Instead of heading deeper into town, Eric chose the opposite direction, the outskirts. Years of survival games had taught him one simple rule: less people usually meant fewer monsters. At least he hoped so. He ignored every zombie he saw. Fighting was never part of the plan. This isn't the Project Zomboid game he was played anymore. There were no skills to level overnight, no magical healing. Every mistake could be his last. Street after street, house after house. The number of zombies slowly began to thin. For the first time, Eric felt that maybe, just maybe, his gaming experience wasn't completely useless after all. His confidence lasted only a few seconds. Trying to vault over a wooden fence, Eric landed badly. Pain shot through his leg. Blood slowly stained his pants. The injury wasn't serious, but it reminded him that reality was far less forgiving than any game. Then he heard it, a growl. 2 zombies had heard the noise. No matter how fast he ran, they refused to stop chasing him. A forest stood just ahead. Every survival game he'd ever played whispered the same advice: break their line of sight, lose them in the trees. Eric disappeared beneath the thick branches, weaving between the trunks before following the river downstream. Minutes later, silence. He had escaped, exhausted, hungry, thirsty. Eric spotted a small house nearby. He smiled. Lucky house. That's what he decided to call it. He quietly opened a window and climbed inside. Then, a low growl echoed right behind him. A zombie had been standing just outside the window. Another second, and it would have grabbed him. Safe inside, Eric stared at the creature. If he wanted this house to become his shelter, the zombie had to go. Eric stood there breathing heavily, terrified, shaking, yet strangely proud. It was the first zombie he had ever killed. The silence didn't last. Another zombie began pounding against a window. This time, he didn't hesitate. The house was finally safe. Across the street, several zombies wandered aimlessly. Running was still the smarter choice. Inside, Eric searched every cabinet. A little food, a few useful supplies, nothing extraordinary, but enough to survive another day. After hours of running, bleeding, and fighting, He collapsed into bed. For the first time in years, Eric went to sleep before midnight. Morning came. Out of habit, Eric turned on the television. Surprisingly, it still worked. Sitting quietly, he began planning. If he wanted to survive, he needed food, water, strength, and knowledge. Those would become his new objectives. Stepping outside, Eric spotted two zombies slowly wandering toward the lucky house. Running wasn't an option this time. If he wanted to keep this place, he had to fight. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't heroic, but somehow, he won. The neighboring house looked quiet, no movement, no growling. Inside, Eric found a little more food. And something he had never expected, a shotgun. For the first time in his life, he held a real firearm instead of one on a computer screen. He carefully packed everything he could carry and hurried back home. Just before noon, the Life and Living channel came on. 6 in the morning, 12 at noon, 6 in the evening. Those broadcasts suddenly became more valuable than any TV show he had ever watched. Before the outbreak, they were just entertainment program with him. Now, they were survival lessons. Knowledge had always been power. Just like in every game Eric had ever played. The rest of the afternoon was spent reading his father's fishing book. Even after all these years, his father was still teaching him how to survive. Before going to bed, Eric forced himself to do a few push-ups. Every muscle screamed in protest. His body had grown weak after years of doing almost nothing. That had to change, because nobody else was coming to save him. Rain covered Brandenburg the next morning. Across the street, a lone zombie guarded another house. Using the fence to his advantage, Eric crushed its skull. Maybe video games were useful after all. Inside the house, several bodies lay motionless on the floor. What happened here? Did they turn on each other? Or did someone choose death before becoming one of them? Eric would never know. Farther ahead, a whole group of zombies wandered between the houses. Eric immediately stopped. One zombie? Maybe. Two? Probably. An entire group? Not a chance. There were no extra lives waiting for him. Sometimes, the smartest fight was the one you never started. The day was still young. Eric decided to search the forest nearby instead. Nature offered plenty of useful resources, although half of them looked completely unfamiliar. Maybe one day they'd become important. For now, he simply took what seemed useful. Then movement caught his eye. Several zombies appeared in the distance. Without thinking twice, Eric turned around and ran. Fear was still stronger than courage, and maybe that wasn't such a bad thing. Fear was keeping him alive. Back home, today's search had paid off. The refrigerator looked a little less empty. After watching the evening survival program and planning tomorrow's tasks, Eric finally went to bed. Sometime after midnight, a single gunshot echoed through the darkness. Eric woke instantly. Someone else was alive. Someone was still fighting. For the first time since the outbreak, hope returned. Sleep was impossible now. Instead, Eric grabbed his bat. Those 4 zombies he had seen earlier had to go. He couldn't let them get anywhere near the lucky house. One by one, he lured them away. One by one, they fell. No panic, no rushing, just patience. Finally, the lucky house was safe again. Now, he could actually sleep. Six o'clock. Another survival broadcast. Today, Eric had a new mission: fishing. If he wanted to survive for months, he needed a renewable food source. The entire morning passed. For one tiny fish barely the size of his hand. Disappointing. His father used to catch fish many times bigger than this. Then Eric realized something. He had forgotten to change the bait. He couldn't help but laugh. Nice job, genius. After making it home in time for the noon broadcast, Eric spent the rest of the afternoon searching the forest again. Honestly, finding supplies seemed much easier than fishing. Before he knew it, another day had passed. Eric woke up early again. Maybe years of staying up late had trained him to survive on little sleep. After a quick shower and breakfast, he finally smelled a little less like the zombies outside. Today, he refused to give up. He is going to catch a real big fish. Hour after hour, nothing. Then finally, success. Nearly 30 centimeters long. Eric laughed out loud. It wasn't just dinner. It was proof that he was learning. Maybe he really could survive this world. Feeling lucky, Eric decided to explore the large house farther south. Several zombies guarded the entrance. He almost walked away, then stopped. Running forever wasn't a solution. There were only 5 of them. After a difficult fight, the house was his. Inside was a spacious basement and an entire music room filled with instruments. The owner must have loved music. Now, the room would never play another song. Making noise in this world was just another way to die. Packed with supplies, Eric slowly carried everything home. Every step felt heavier than the last. His arms ached, his back burned. Once again, his weak body reminded him that survival wasn't only about courage, it was about strength. That night, Eric collapsed into bed completely exhausted. But unlike before, he wasn't afraid. He was tired, hopeful, and for the first time, he believed tomorrow might actually come. The next day, Eric decided not to leave the house. His sore muscles were a reminder that survival wasn't just about courage. Sometimes, rest was just as important. So he spent the entire day reading. Just a week ago, sitting still with a book would have been his worst nightmare. Funny how the end of the world could change a person. Outside, the dead still wandered the streets. Inside, Eric was quietly preparing for tomorrow. Because surviving wasn't about being the strongest. It was about learning, one day at a time. As he closed the book, Eric smiled to himself. Maybe tomorrow, I'll level up again.